And as the screen just told me, we are live. Pigskin Pete and Bobby Durkins with yet another Tuesday night at 7 p.m. college football talk with Pete and Bobby. Live stream. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm live stream, dude. I mean, how much better can I be, dude?
Yeah.
No, man, it's good. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. How was the weekend?
Well, I texted you about some weird stuff that happened to me at the beach.
I was going to see if you brought that up or if you just talked about something else because
no, so I have
definitely be yeah.
No, so I have some breaking. Well, not breaking news, but different news on this front because I posted it on Twitter, so it wasn't a secret.
Right.
So I'll make a long story short here because I don't want to bore everybody. Mm-hmm. So we go to the beach on Saturday late morning, like 11 o'clock. So we're there for like an hour. And, well, I don't know how else to say this other than a body washed up on the beach about 20 yards from us. Like, so if I'm sitting here looking at the ocean, we're just sitting there hanging out right to our left, right between us. We were sitting about maybe 60 yards from the pier. For anybody who's been to Isle of Palms, there's a main pier there. And so right between us and the pier, 20 to 30 yards away, a body washes up. And you see the commotion. You see people see the body. A couple of guys come and pick it up, drag it onto the sand. This man. And then the lifeguards rush over and start doing CPR on the guy. And they're doing CPR on the guy for like 5, 6, 7 minutes, something around there. I could tell that he didn't, even from where I was standing, I didn't run over there because I didn't want to be disrespectful, but a crowd did start to form around them. And I could see that this guy was not moving. I mean, it didn't look good. So by then, the helicopters are coming, the EMS are coming down the beach in their trucks, the police, everything. And it's just like chaos. Well, this goes on for 10 to 15 minutes with them giving this guy CPR. And eventually they just put him in a bag and zip the bag up. Like he didn't make it. So I thought this guy had drowned while swimming, while we were there and washed up. Well, come to find out, the theory is that this guy drowned the night before, was out on a boat a couple of miles away at this place called Morris Island, fell off the boat and drowned overnight. And then it just happened that his body washed up right where we were at the next day. So he wasn't even swimming out there that day. He'd been dead for a while.
Yeah, man. When you text me about that, I was like, normally you're toning me because you're at the beach and I'm not. Yeah, and I appreciate that. But this one was very different. This was very different. I was like, oh my God, man.
Well, I mean, it was crazy, first of all, because we didn't know at the time, we thought he just drowned, like right there. Because with the storm coming and everything, the hurricane, it was the water was very rough. Like I went out in the water and like I'm a good swimmer, and I was having a hard time keeping my balance out there. Like the current was extremely strong. So anyway, but the kids were there and they saw it. The whole thing was kind of weird.
I imagine.
Honestly. Yeah.
How did the kids respond to it?
Well, the youngest one didn't really know what to think. He didn't pay that much attention to it. He just knew that somebody was hurt.
Yeah.
And my oldest, he took it okay. Like he didn't seem that fazed by it. I don't really know. I don't really, he seems fine to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you tell him.
Yeah. I know, man. God, that's crazy. Yeah, but when you sent me that text, I was like, you gotta be flipping kidding me.
Yeah, it was nuts. When it was happening, I was like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, let me get into the chat here. I can't for some reason see the chat very well on my thing. I can only see back like 5 comments, and it won't let me scroll up.
I can give some May there still.
I don't know why this is. It's pissing me off though.
Yeah, it's the
anyway.
Taliban.
Clemson Carson's here. Crimson Brave 2020. Gold and Blue Dude. Bubba Clemson, talk to the paw. Michael Sachs Jr. SEC Dog says Pete and Bobby, what's up, fellas? What's up with you? TikTok Jess Hall. Tiger Nation. Let me see this comment here from Michael Sachs Jr. He wants to know, have a question, Pete and Bobby. Let's just say we don't have college football. Do you see the big stars coming back in 2021? If they're eligible for the NFL draft, no. That's what you're asking. I'm assuming that's what you're asking. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because maybe that's a good segue into this first topic of conversation here.
Right.
So sometime, I think it's either tomorrow or what's today, Tuesday? It's either tomorrow or Thursday. The NCAA is supposed to make an announcement, a ruling on whether or not they're going to allow fall championship games to take place. So this would mean in football, obviously the ACC championship, the SEC championship, so on and so forth, but also all other fall sports. They're including football into that. Mm-hmm. The thinking or the theory is that they're not going to allow that to take place. But that's not the interesting thing about this. The interesting thing is, so the Power 5 commissioners from all the Power 5 conferences and the athletic directors have all said in unison, if the NCAA bans these championship games from being played, they're going to play them anyway, and they'll do it on their own. Which I think is interesting because first of all, we've never seen anything like that happen before. Yep. Second of all, it's kind of just a big middle finger to the NCAA. Like, we don't really care what you say anymore.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I told you on the phone that I'm not a big I don't want to say protest guy, because with everything going on, people's going to take that just and run it, and that's not what I mean. But we'll discuss another topic a little later on about some demands of the Pac-12 players and so on. Mm-hmm. And I'm not always one of those guys who's supporting people saying we're going to go against the system. I don't always think you need to go against the system. Some systems are good, might have its problems, fix it. And this one, I told you, I like it. I like the conferences looking at the NCAA and saying, you don't exist without us. You don't. Clemson stops playing football. Georgia Tech stops playing football. Alabama stops playing football. Middle Tennessee State stops playing football. They stop playing all these sports. What's the NCAA? What are they? They're a logo and a group of people sitting there going, now what do we do? They have overreached, in my opinion, in several situations. And as I have told you before, I told you on the phone today, and as I have yelled as somebody else on my Bobby Durkin's channel, I have been jumping up and down screaming, why are you not investigating this school? It's obvious that they are cheating to get the players that they're getting. I don't know, Ole Miss with Hugh Freeze. Oh, no, they're good Christian boys down there doing the Lord's work. They would never, I don't know, get hookers for the players.
Did you got to understand, Bobby, people say that about Clemson too.
They might say it, but Dabo Swinney has built this program over time. Hugh Freeze did it overnight. Overnight, he had a number 4 recruiting class. It was like boom.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just telling you what the skeptics will say. All right.
And I know where that's coming from. I know exactly what you're saying. That's what Clemson's doing right now, dude. We've been doing it for Clemson just didn't get good 2 years ago. I mean, this is Clemson has been a good football team since 2014, maybe even a few years before that. So we've been doing this much longer than what everybody's acting like we're doing.
Not only that, they were doing top 10 recruiting classes in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Even before, that was part of the thing that was so disappointing about them is they were doing top 10 recruiting classes in the 90s and early 2000s and not really doing anything with it. That was the frustrating part.
The lack of player development. But I have sat there and I've lost my darn mind with the NCAA on issues like Ole Miss, checking out the University of North Carolina with their basketball program and all the weird stuff that went on there. And it's like, You overreach where you don't need to overreach. But you do nothing when you should do something. Hey, I love this. I love this. Maybe they'll feel threatened. Maybe they'll feel the possibility that they're no longer needed, and maybe they'll sit up straight, straighten up their tie, and say, "Okay, it's time for us to stop playing around." That's my that's my opinion on it. But I think that if the NCAA is going to say we're stepping in and we're going to slam our fist down, and you won't do this, you won't do that. I love that the conference is going, we don't need you.
Yeah, I like it. I like it too. I see Sooner. I like it too. I see Sooner West is in here. Says what's going on. I haven't seen Sooner West in here in a while. And this brings up a good thing, a good talking point here. We didn't talk about this pre-show, Bobby, but it's still a good thing to talk about. So the Big 12 has announced that they are doing something very similar to the ACC as far as their scheduling model, and that will be 9 conference games because there's only 10 teams in the conference, and then 1 non-conference game, so the ACC said 10 conference games and 1 non-conference. So this has been my point from ever since we found out that these rivalry games will be canceled because the SEC is not playing out of conference. So no Clemson, South Carolina, and the other ones that are played in state in the last week of November. How about a week where the Big 12 and the ACC play each other, or at the very least, that wouldn't match up completely because there's more teams in the ACC than there is in the Big 12. But let's say at least at the very least, some Big 12 teams schedule some ACC teams. And I don't know about you, rather than see Clemson play Citadel or some lower class division team, I would rather see them play a Baylor, Oklahoma, a Texas, somebody like that. I mean, how do you feel about that, Sooner West? And how do you feel about that, Bobby, more importantly?
Sooner West, I look forward to hearing what he has to say here. I would love that.
Me too.
I would love to see us play Oklahoma. I'd love to see us play Texas. I would love to see us play Baylor. I think that would be great. That would be awesome. I think that our fan base, I think both fan bases, no matter who it is, would really enjoy it and would have a good time versus the Citadel. I mean, God bless the Citadel. Still love those guys for beating South Carolina and Williams-Brice. But, I mean, yeah. let's just go ahead and put it where it is.
And I don't even care where the game's played.
No, I don't care. Let's go to Norman. Let's
go to
right.
Let's
go to Austin. Man, that would be great. Clemson at Austin.
Yeah, I'd rather see it on campus either way. But whether it's in Death Valley or whether it's at one of those other schools, or even if it's just if they can't agree on where it's going to be played, if they want to play it at a neutral site, I'm okay with that too, as long as the game's played. Really.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
But, I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. But it would only make sense. The only 2 conferences that are playing non-con games, it would make sense for them to play some games against each other. 2 Power 5 conferences, it would make sense.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of logistics that go into it that's going to make it not happen. But I'll tell you one thing though, if I was Dan Radakovich from Clemson, I'd be on the phone with 4 or 5 Big 12 teams yesterday, trying to work something out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at the landscape of the SEC playing each other, and you take away some of those rivalry games, I know Florida State hasn't been what it was, but I mean that's still a big game for them. Georgia Tech, I hear so many people laugh about that game. It's a rivalry game. Even though Georgia has lopsidedly owned that thing, it's still a rivalry game. So I got all my annoyances out. I say I did. That's a lie. Last week, I'm still very annoyed about that whole entire deal that Miami will come here and play us, but South Carolina can't drive up the road 2 hours and get to play us. That ticks me off. But I think how great would it be to see Oklahoma versus Clemson, to see Texas versus Clemson, a Baylor versus Clemson. Man, this would be awesome. You want to talk about people tuning in and just to see some really, really good football games. Man, this would be great. I would watch it. I would really, really be excited, man. Our season would have just got sweeter. It really did. Except for South not getting to play, beat the crap out of those chickens. Man, other than that, our schedule would have got a lot better and a lot more interesting.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go for
it. Got a donation here from BGPO Football Funk. That's a tongue twister if I ever read one. But of course, that's DeAndre Crawford.
Our buddy.
And he says, how are you brothers doing? Well, we're doing great. How are you doing? More importantly, I think he's finally out of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the hospital for a couple of weeks with the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's good people.
Yeah,
he's good people. My dad got over it. My dad got over it just over the past few weeks. He got over it, and he said it sucked, as you would imagine, and that whole breathing thing, man. It is what they say it is. But I'm glad DeAndre is doing good. He's our buddy. He always does great. We go on Mark Rogers' show and just have a great time, and I'm glad you're doing well, pal.
Yeah, I was thinking about you, buddy. So I'm glad you're doing better. All right. So, yeah, Sooner West says he would love to see Clemson beat up on Texas. I'm sure you would. I would love to see that too. Baylor would be another good one. Yeah, I think if the Big 12 and the AC, or if Clemson was going to play anybody in the Big 12, obviously Oklahoma would be top of the list, right? Second, I would say Texas, a close second too. Clemson, I don't even think they've ever played each other before.
I don't believe they have. So
that's one reason they might be at the top of the list just for that reason. So Oklahoma, Texas, Baylor, Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
After that, there's a little bit of a drop off and interesting.
A little bit,
but still,
that's nice to say. A little bit.
But let's say even an Iowa State or a Texas Tech or something like that would be more interesting than Citadel. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, So, I mean, I wouldn't want to see them play Kansas, although that would be funny. I'd have a lot of fun on YouTube Kansas week.
Yeah. Yeah. We could say so many things about Les Miles, of course, Kansas just being the amazing football team that they are. But
West Virginia is a good one. I didn't even think about them.
Yeah. West Virginia would be tough. Now DeAndre, he's big history guy. DeAndre is a big history guy. DeAndre, and I'm looking for this in the comments. Am I right or am I wrong? The last time Clemson played Baylor, I hadn't looked this up. This is just off the top of my head. Was in the 1980 season when they lost in the Peach Bowl to Baylor. And the very next year, Clemson won the national championship.
I think that's right.
I do believe that is correct.
I think you're right. I think you're right, sir.
I think it is.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, though, to the Big Ten. So I don't know if you heard this, Bobby, but so Northwestern had one positive test from a player on their team. I think this was yesterday or over the weekend, something of that nature. Northwestern, with one positive coronavirus test, shut down all practices for I don't know how long they said, a week or two. So they were starting practice, but they're postponing it. Is basically what it comes down to for the entire team, not just for the one player or people he's come in contact with, for everybody. So there's a lot of speculation out there that the Big Ten is on the verge of canceling football for the season as a conference. Now, the opposition to that is, so I was listening to the radio today, and this is where I heard this from. So that this isn't just my opinion. I'm going off of people that are reporting this for ESPNU. Is that the Big Ten will not cancel football season unless Ohio State and Michigan are on board with it, because they're the big boys in the conference. Basically, I mean, I guess you could throw Penn State in there, but as far as the two programs that have the most pull in the conference, that would obviously be Ohio State and Michigan. Now, I don't think that you're going to see this happen. This could be another one of those sort of news stories that's just all about, trying to scare people into having no season. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Ohio State wants that. I don't think Michigan wants that. I don't think really anybody in the conference wants that. But I did find it a little bit odd that Northwestern would shut down the entire practice just for one player testing positive for COVID instead of just doing the quarantine deal with the player. Yeah, I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm not surprised whatsoever. I I listen to different theories on COVID. I know you do, whether you want to or not. Whether people wants to listen to it or not, it's there.
Right.
It's there, and it's very easy to get people ticked off at you, and then it gets political and everything. Listen to me, folks. You quarantine the sick. You quarantine the sick, and if you think that you're sick, today I had a doctor's appointment. Everybody, I'm fine. I don't have COVID. It was something else, and I'm fine. But when I walked in, they said, they ask you the question, have you felt sick? Have you had a fever? Have you been around someone who's been sick? Okay, now that's where we could stop and say, all right, who's been around this guy and blah, 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 blah. If we're going to do this, and I'm going to make a very, very bold statement. If we're going to do this, we're going to shut down practices. Teams are going to shut down practices. Go ahead and cancel the football season, because this is going to happen for a very long time. This is going to happen. One player is going to show up. And man, he's not feeling well. Oh, no. He played last week against Miami. He played last week against Middle Tennessee State. He's not well. Now we've got to quarantine both teams. We cancel a game here. We cancel a game there. We cancel everything.
Right. That's what surprises me is they don't have a protocol in place for something like this, because it's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again, Pete. And that's why I said earlier in the season that I am now getting concerned that teams will be forced to cancel the season. They will be forced to cancel the season because of this issue. So for instance, you were talking about the big dogs, Ohio State, Michigan. You know, they got the pull. They have the tradition. They want to play this year. We have Clemson. We have Bama. We have Georgia. We have these teams who have so much at stake. They believe this season is the season for them. They believe they can contend for whatever reason. Okay? All right? With that said, imagine a team, say, like Wake Forest. I'm just using them. Wake Forest says, we know Clemson last week played against a team who just 3 days ago, one of their players tested positive for COVID. We know Clemson's going to beat our brains in. We're not going to play Clemson. Everybody at our school, the leadership, they've got together. They don't believe the game of football is, and that's what it'll be played as. The guys, this is about safety. I mean, does football really matter that much to us? And then there'll be uproar if they play Clemson, then somebody gets sick, and then the season's over. And that's the thing that I'm scared of. That I see the writing on the wall. That Northwestern canceled everything. No, I'm not surprised that Northwestern would do it. By the way, I know everybody's going to be upset with me for saying this, but I'm just going to say, if Northwestern practices versus them not practicing, are they really going to be much better? No, they're not. They're not. They're going to be just as bad a football team with all the practice in the next 2 or 3 weeks as they would be without the practice. So this time they'll just have excuse.
So first of all, DeAndre Crawford says the 1979 Peach Bowl, not the 1980 Peach Bowl.
You got me. I knew it was 79 or 80, somewhere in there.
So that's a New Year's 6 game. So was it the 79 season but played in 80? See, that's where it gets confusing. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Because you might both be right.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
You might both be right. And then we have an argument going on here between Luke Godwin and DeAndre Crawford. Luke Godwin saying, well, I really don't want to get into this part of this conversation, but it is what it is. Hold on, because we have a response from DeAndre Crawford. So Luke Godwin says coronavirus 10% real, 90% political. And then BGO Football Funk says it's a real, dog. Trust me, because he was just in the hospital for it. So, right. So it's hard to argue with that. And this is the thing is if you have somebody that's been affected by this, or God forbid, somebody that's died from this, then it's 100% real to you. And I listen, I don't want to make this is not a political show. And so I don't want to make it that. I tend to agree that there is some there's a lot of politicization that goes into this. And
I like that word. Good job, man.
Politicization. Yeah. I can't say it 3 times fast though.
Yeah.
But anyway, a lot of politicization that goes into this, but it certainly is a real virus. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
My dad, I just said this, my dad,
that's the 10% says Luke Godwin.
he's about to be 60 next month. he probably appreciates me saying that. My dad has some health problems here and there, and it's very real. But he and I was just on the phone yesterday talking about, hey, it was real, it was horrible, but yeah, it's politicized. So is it political? Yeah, it is. It's turned into a political point, unfortunately. And guys like DeAndre and my dad, they had it, and it sucked, and it was horrible. So it's yeah. I'm sick of the whole political side of it, and I'm sick of the whole why are you twisting this truth versus that truth, just for your own gain. I mean, let's deal with the issue and so on. But anyway, I know what you said. No politics here, but I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying.
Yes. And for some reason, I have lost my comments. There we go. I don't know what the hell's going on with my computer, but Slim Shady Canes is in the house.
May there, Slim Shady Canes.
Slim Shady Canes says, yes, it's real, but out of 150,000 deaths, 140,000 are over 55 years old. That is a fact.
Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
Well, look, whatever side of the aisle you fall in this conversation with, the bottom line is it's affecting not only our everyday lives, because I mean, you still have to wear a mask. You still there's still a lot of places that are shut down completely.
Yeah.
Like when's the last time you've been into a movie theater? There's no movie theaters open here. Now there's restaurants open, and retail stores are open, and obviously grocery stores are open. Movie theaters are not open. Are they open where you are?
No, not that I know of. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of this probably went out of business, actually. And, of course, it's affecting what we're all here to talk about, college football, in a major, major way. So whether you think it's real or, a farce or somewhere in between, none of that really matters. As far as football is concerned, it's affecting everything, obviously.
Yeah. I think my annoyance with it is let's get down to brass tacks and the truth, because like Slim Shady Canes lays out there, and we all need to do our fact check. We need to take what he said, and we don't need to go to our favorite news channel. We don't need to go to our favorite news channel or news network and check out the statistics. We need to go to the CDC. We need to go to the SD, or for South Carolina, SCD. Heck, we need to look at the real numbers. We need to read the words. I have a friend of mine who's a doctor. Guy bust his butt. He's a fantastic physician, and he said go to the SCD Heck site. Went to the SCD Heck site, and it showed me the hospital people who were hospitalized with COVID. He said, "No, read that." And I said, "Hospitalized with COVID." He said, "Read it again. Hospitalized with COVID." He said, "Did it say with or from?" So we know that COVID deaths had been people who died with COVID in their system can be counted towards COVID deaths. We need the jargon to stop being manipulated. We need the numbers to stop being padded. We just need the unadulterated truth. We need this because, number one, forget politics. What you said, we have businesses shutting down. We have college football that will be shutting down. That's huge for a small town like Clemson. Clemson is a very small town. You take the university out of Clemson, Clemson is this big. It's teeny. It's not like South Carolina, University of South Carolina. They're in Columbia. Whether the university is there or not, Columbia is going to be big. Right. Columbia is a big place. Clemson is not big. It's the majority of it, except for a few stores, it's moved in here recently because of population increase, because of the school, and because of how many people's coming in for the football games, because the team is so great. It's mom and pop stores left and right, privately owned businesses. Those are the people who are going to pay. They're going to pay a lot of money. So while people are pissing on each other across the aisle and for political reasons, we just need the truth. That's all we need. And as you can tell, I've had enough of it. I've had enough of it.
First of all, I don't disagree with you, and I don't disagree with Slim Shady Canes either. Because it's been politicized, like I said earlier, there's always two sides. So the truth is always somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. Now, is it more to which side or the other? We can debate about that. I don't know.
Right.
But when things get politicized to the point that they have, which has become the norm these days, that's a whole nother conversation. It's not about football. Also, that's getting deep into the weeds.
Yeah.
But when it gets to that point, whether we like it or not, it's going to majorly affect everything in society.
Right.
And so that's where we're at right now.
I think this is where we have to be big boys and big girls. I know there's no girl that I know. I don't see any ladies in the comments section. And Slim Shady said, "Preach, Bobby." Yeah, he understands what I'm saying. By we shouldn't just take his word for it or your favorite news outlets' word for it. You need to go and look up the facts for yourself and stop listening to your political whatever it is, political association, your political group, your talking heads, and you to look at this thing for yourself and say, if I did not have this mouth chirping in my ear, what would I see? What would I see? Any death is bad. Any death is bad. Did you know that tuberculosis still kills 1.5 million people per year in the world? Nobody is shutting down anything for tuberculosis, right?
I'm still mad that tuberculosis killed Doc Holliday because he was a badass.
But you think about that, how long ago? But you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. I was listening to someone who's extremely credible today, will not name their name, but tuberculosis killed between 1.25 and 1.5 million people last year. Didn't see the world shut down for that, man. Didn't see it shut down. You didn't. Mm-mm. And tuberculosis is actually making a good old-fashioned comeback, believe it or not, in the U.S. of A. And you don't see those shutdowns. What is my rant about? Is it about politics? Is it about whether this thing is real or not? No. It is about Clemson will not play a full season of football, in my opinion, because people are manipulating the facts. They are manipulating the statistics. They are creating fear-mongering. They are creating a lot of this stuff, and it is not just having an effect on us getting to sit and watch guys throw a football. It's having an effect on real people who's invested into real businesses, who has real lives with real responsibilities. And for those who are actually sick and they do need to be quarantining themselves like a real adult. If I'm sick, I'll tell you this, when I know I'm susceptible to, for instance, people who have gluten allergies, they stay, hold on, I either have a gluten allergy or I have celiac, which if I eat gluten, it'd kill me. I don't eat bread. We don't take bread off the shelves, folks. We don't take bread off the shelves. We still have bread out and about. People who have peanut allergies, they're very careful of what they eat. They have to, because it's a matter of life and death. They take it upon themselves to police their body. We just need to be very careful.
This goes into the same thing as, because people always say, you don't have any sympathy for the people until somebody in your family dies from it. Well, you also don't have any sympathy for the other side of it until you have a family member that went out of business and went from the rich house to the poor house overnight because their small business got shut down.
Sure.
Which is happening all across this country right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I get so worked up on this.
Well, no, I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, if you own any small business at this point, you're hanging on by a thread. And as somebody who owned a small business, family business with my sister for 10 years, if things would have went south as quickly as they went during the coronavirus, I wouldn't have the house I live in now. I really don't know where I would be.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure we'd have made it somehow, my wife and I, but we'd be in a totally different world if this would have happened 3 years ago as opposed to now. So I was lucky in that way.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there that aren't lucky.
I've shared this with you. I've shared it I believe I've shared it on our show here. I personally know people who are kin to me and people who are just friends and acquaintances who went bankrupt 15, 20 years ago. They're still not the same today. They've been working hard. They've busted their butt. They've saved money. They haven't lived beyond their means. They are still not the same, my friends.
Yeah.
So go wear a mask. That's fine with me. Go wear a mask. I could care less. I'm not going to fight you on mask wearing. Go wear a mask. But when you start creating, to me, a fear monger that says we're going to shut everything down because there's a possibility that you could get sick and you're in a certain age group, which is quite wide. And people could end up losing everything they have, which, by the way, increases suicide, increases depression. Depression, suicide. People form bad habits. I mean, if you drink, you drink. I drink, but I know people who has drank themselves into an early grave because of depression. I have a cousin. We buried him a few years ago. Not much older than me right now. He got depressed. Things started going bad, and he drank himself to death. Yeah, Nobody will consider that.
I don't want to make jokes about that. What I was going to say is I'm not depressed, but I still probably drink myself into an early grave.
Oh no, that's the lightheartedness. That's the lightheartedness of this show, Pete. But we're talking about our football season. We can't talk about this football season. We can't talk about this football season without talking about this. And then you step back and you think the University of Miami is going to come to Clemson. They're going to drive that far and play us. Okay. But the SEC says their schools can only play within conference. Well, what's the reason behind that? Well, we've got the COVID. But
it has nothing to do with travel, though, Bobby. It never did.
But
it's about controlling the standards within your own conference. That's all it's about. So in other words, certain schools may have better protocol for how to test and to prepare for, preventing an outbreak than other schools. So it's all about the conference can make decisions for the conference only, but it can't, like the SEC can't control what Clemson does and vice versa. So that's all that's about. It has never been about travel.
I get that. But to me, that does not, especially with the SEC and the SEC, the ACC and the SEC. These are not like some D3 schools.
I got you.
This is not like it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's bull crap. What's the real reason?
The real reason is it's a simplification of things. That's all it is. So it's really just the most way to simplify the season is to control what you can control, and the SEC can control the SEC teams, and the ACC can control ACC teams.
Yeah.
So that's all it's about.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't agree with it. I'd like to see them play a 12-game season as normal. We're out of conference, in conference, whatever, and have a playoff and have a national championship and have the bowl games. So you're talking to the guy here that wants the
and
things
I know you do.
that all that could happen if everybody wasn't so scared. But the reality is it's not going to happen, and these are the reasons why.
And I get and I totally get that, and I know that we're on the same page here. I get that. I get that. So what I'm alluding to is what's the real reason? What is the real reason that you're just wanting to play within conference? What's the real reason? I want to know the real reason, because I very well doubt the ACC is just going to let people play without being tested. I very, very well doubt that the ACC, that if you look at the ACC, what's some of the schools that's in the ACC? University of North Carolina. That is a ridiculously incredible institution. I mean, we're talking about education here. We're not talking about football. Education, brilliant. Duke Medical. Has anybody ever heard of that school? Has anybody ever heard of Duke? Duke is Wake Forest. I mean, these are some great academic institutions they have brilliant researchers there, folks. What is the real reason that the SEC, I think you really hit the nail on the head. They just want to control their conference. They want to control their conference. It doesn't deal with COVID. This was just a nice little out. And let me tell you, people are using this as their nice little out. This is what they're doing. They're using it for their out. They're guys, we've always wanted to do X, Y, Z, and we never could. Here's our chance. I could be wrong. It could be a conspiracy, but that's my thought.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that deep. I think it's just that it's an easier way to go for each conference, saying we can control what's happening in our conference. We can't control any other conference, so we're just going to play each other. And so if the SEC makes a decision for one team, they can pass it down to all other teams, and it doesn't affect their non-conference games.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, probably so.
Anyway, I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's the way I feel it's happening. Yeah. So the last thing we'll talk about today is the Pac-12. Now, this is trending on everything, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, on ESPN even. The United We Stand movement, which is a collection of over 400 and growing Pac-12 football players. Now, most of these football players come from a handful of schools. I think I saw Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, and somebody else, UCLA maybe. I don't know. But most of these players come from a handful of 4 or 5 teams. They've come up with a list of 17 demands. Now, this is the problem with this, is I have tried to look up, and maybe I'm just not very good at looking shit up. I know I'm not good at looking shit up. Just ask my 12th grade English teacher. But seriously, so there's a list of 17 demands. Now, most of the demands have to do with health and safety. There's a couple in there have to do with racial issues and that sort of thing. Most of them are minor things that I think that most people can get behind. The major one that everyone's saying is not going to happen is they want 50% of the revenue generated through football. So
okay, all right.
So I don't. First of all, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because it can't happen. And I know we talked about this earlier, Bobby, off of the air. So I think that, when you hear about the paying the players thing, there's a lot of people out there that say, their college football players are being exploited. They need to be paid. These universities are making billions of dollars off of these children and exploiting them.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I don't think people, and I'm not going to get into the debate about the image and likeness thing. First of all, that's in the demands too. They want money off of image and likeness and 50% of the revenue. Yeah. So I don't disagree with the image and likeness thing. We talked about this. If you're going to sell a Deshaun Watson jersey on campus in Clemson or even online or wherever, and you want to put Watson on the back and you want to put that big number 4 on there, yeah, Deshaun Watson should get some of that money.
Yeah,
and that should go for whether he's playing at the school at the time or after or whenever.
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
No problem.
If it's whatever. So the image and likeness thing is a different thing. But here's the thing that most people don't understand: these universities are nonprofit. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not making a profit. What that means is, for anybody who's ever been involved with a nonprofit organization before, it means that any profit that you do make has to be reinvested into the company, in this case, a university. So this is the reason, folks. This is the reason that we have great baseball stadiums and softball stadiums and volleyball courts and a golf team that can travel all over the world. And you just go down the list of 100 different sports. The profit that football makes supports all of that. There's not some fat guy sitting behind the Wizard of Oz curtain, pulling strings, eating Cheetos, and cashing billion-dollar checks. That's not the way this works. Mm-mm. So if you start taking 50% of the revenue away that football makes, guess what happens? 50% of the sports that football supports go away.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Not going to happen.
Yep. Ask Boston University why they shut down their football program. Why do teams shut down anything? Or let me rephrase that. I was poorly spoken, and y'all forgive me for that. It's been a long day. Why does, like we were talking about earlier, why does a restaurant shut down? You've got the building. You've obviously got the equipment to cook with. You got some good old American hard work, put your heart into it, just get back there and cook for us. Well, you have to have something to cook, and you have to pay for the lights to be turned on. You have to pay for the property tax, and you have to pay for special insurance, and you have to pay for this, and you have to pay for that. Things shut down because you don't have the money anymore. It's done. It's over with. And if these guys, and I have it's called We Are United. I believe that's it. We Are United. Requirements pulled up in front of me, and some of them I'm sitting there going, that's not bad. You know, that's not bad. I could see that. Like one of them is health and safety, COVID-19 protections, allow option not to play during the pandemic without losing athletics eligibility or spot on our team's roster. Okay, that's kind of widely defined, but I get where you're going with it. But we need to be adults and be specific. Prohibit void COVID-19 agreements that waive liability. Okay. Going on through. Okay. Protect all sports. This is issue 2.
See, a lot of these things I can get behind.
Larry Scott. I didn't know who Larry Scott is. And some of y'all out there, you don't know who No, I do not know who Larry Scott is until I looked up Larry Scott. Larry Scott, I believe he is the commissioner. Yes, he is the commissioner of the Pac-12. This is in it. Larry Scott, administrators and coaches to voluntarily and drastically reduce excessive pay. Okay. In performance academic bonuses. End lavish facility expenditures and use some endowment funds to preserve all sports. As an example, Stanford University should reinstate all sports discontinued by tapping into their $27.7 billion endowment. Okay, why? So you can build some type of sports venue that only a few parents show up to. I know this gets mean. This sounds mean. This sounds rude. But I can go ahead and tell you that nice little facility that the Clemson women's softball team has would not have it without the football team being so great.
I could tell you the one thing out of all these demands I can completely get myself behind is there should be a grace period, however long it is, 5 years, 10 years. If you're a college athlete, especially a football player, it's a dangerous contact sport, the university should pay for your health coverage for a period of years afterward, because you may have sustain an injury in football. And then as soon as your scholarship's up, as soon as you're on your own, you're paying for the medical care for that going forward in your life. So right. I can get behind that.
Right.
Football is a violent sport. And, if you get, even if it's just something as minor as you tear your ACL or something, well, that may cause you to have to go to the doctor, for the next 10 years for whatever reason, if you re-aggravate it or whatever. And so the university should be helping you out with that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Some of these are very common sense things that probably should have already happened. Some of them are a little bit crazy though. I mean, some of them are just like now you're just asking for everything. Maybe that's the plan. Ask for everything so you get some. Maybe it's over asking so you get some. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Fair market. We're on fair market pay, rights, and freedoms.
Right.
You've already talked about the 50% of pay. This is great.
50% of revenue.
Total revenue.
Yeah, total, not profit.
Yeah, total revenue. So somebody didn't go to econ class.
So first of all, somebody did well, at least what I saw online. Somebody did a quick number crunch of the revenue generated per player in football if you were to divide it up. So basically, every Pac-12 player would earn $1 million a year playing football.
But that's it, and you're right there. It says revenue. It does not say profit.
Right.
And once again, this is proving that there are young men and women who they are not paying attention in finance class, in accounting, in econ. They're not paying attention. So if I bring in for everybody, I know most everybody on here is paying attention. You know this stuff, but let's just say this out loud so all the mature ears can hear it. That means I make $1 million, but I spend $950,000. I've only made a profit of $50,000. They're not saying split the $50,000. They're saying split the $1 million, which means that somebody was thinking with the crust of their anus when they came up with this. It makes you look really, really stupid when you start saying total conference revenue. If you say total conference profit, I'm still laughing, but I can say, well, hold on, we're dealing with an educated person here who understands an income statement. That's not the case here.
Again, this goes back to what I said. They take the profit and invest in the universities.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to tell me that the coaches make too much money, I can get down with that. Now, here's another thing that people don't understand. So Dabo Swinney is a state employee, but guess how much the state pays Dabo Swinney every year? Not $9 million, $250,000.
Okay.
The rest of that money that he's paid, so the other $8.5 million essentially every year that Dabo Swinney makes comes from private donors. It's not coming from the taxpayer. It's not coming from the university itself. It's coming from the boosters, essentially, the rich guys that are supporting the program. So you can't stop private donations, and they're not getting private donation money. That's the other thing. I think these players think they're going to get private donation money, and they go, "You can pay Dabo Swinney $9 million, but you can't give the kid $50,000 a year or whatever it is." Well, yeah, maybe if a private donor wants to give him $50,000 a year, but they don't. They want to give it to Dabo Swinney because he's the guy that's going to be there, hypothetically, for the next 10 years. You're only going to be there for a few years. Plus, we don't have a habit of donors paying kids to play sports unless you're cheating.
Mm-hmm. Here's one that's interesting. It's really, I know we're getting close on time here, so I'll make this fast.
Yes.
6-year athletic scholarships to foster undergraduate and graduate degree completions. If you're already a scholarship student, I think that first part's taken care of. But I mean, you're going to have to stay all 4 years, or you're going to have to graduate early, most likely. The graduate degree completion, I know what they're going for, but I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I won't get caught up in that. Here's the one this is very interesting to me. Elimination of all policies and practices restricting or deterring our freedom of speech. Nobody is doing that. Especially if you're in the state of California, as long as you're not a conservative, you're fine. I mean, I'm just being blunt. As long as you're not a conservative, you are fine. So if you want to go spray, I hope America goes to hell on the side of a building at Stanford, they'll applaud it. I mean, I'm just sorry. It is what it is. Nobody is holding you back from your freedom of speech. Our ability to fully participate in charitable work. I don't think anybody, I mean, who are you wanting to do charity for? The Taliban? I mean, and our freedom to participate in campus activities outside of mandatory athletics participation. What are you talking about?
I don't even know what that means.
I don't even know.
Read that again.
I'm going to read the very last part again. And our freedom to participate in campus activities outside of mandatory athletics participation.
Why aren't they? Who's stopping them from doing that?
Are they referring to if they want to play minor league baseball and still play baseball at Stanford? Is that what there's so many holes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that means.
This is horrible. The next one, ability of players of all sports to transfer one time without punishment, and additionally in cases of abuse or serious negligence. We're already seeing a move towards that. Ability to complete eligibility after participating in a ability to complete eligibility after participating in a pro draft if player goes undrafted and forgoes
I agree with that.
Participation within 7 days of the draft.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree.
Number 6 is due process. Okay. Due process of please elaborate. There's so many holes here. I get the idea. I just want this is the real thing that I ask with this. And as I've got older, I had to find out. I was sitting in school many years ago before I finished my degree. And I was sitting in a college class, and the secular school, it was not a Christian school, it was not a conservative school, it was just a regular run-of-the-mill school, folks. And the instructor was talking about statistics and studies. The truth is, and I kind of lost my thought there for a second because I read a comment. You know how it is. Sometimes you see a comment, you read perhaps see it, lose your mind. But I'm back on track. So this instructor says to us, when you are paying attention to stats, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with Slim Shady Canes and studies and findings. You always need to ask the question, who did the study? Who is funding the study? What is their motivation behind the study? What is their special interest in the study? That's across the board. That is across the board in anything. My question is, who is behind this movement? Like I know the players are the face of it and everything, and so supposedly started it, but who is funding this movement? What's the real reason behind this movement? Because some of this stuff, like you and I, we agree on certain parts of this. We're like, man, that makes sense. That makes sense. There was one part in here that was talking about helping low income players. I agree with helping low income players. I think that it needs to be defined as players across the board. That if they're low income,
sure.
If you have low income, I think that it is absolutely stupid that if you're low income and you can't be helped in any way. That's dumb. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Yeah. If people wants to help you, help them.
There's a lot of dumb rules like that. It's like the thing also, like if most college kids don't have money, and a lot of their families can't afford plane tickets to fly them back and forth to home. Let's say you live on the West Coast and you come to Clemson, the university can't buy a plane ticket for their player to go back and see their parents or their family. That's ridiculous. Somebody dies, your uncle dies back home. The university can't send you back home to go to the funeral. That's considered I don't know. It was considered illegal according to the NCAA. It's considered a perk or whatever they call that. So that's ridiculous. And T. Davis says that's right. That they're not allowed to play intramural sports while their athletic season is in play. That's any sport. So that's what they meant by that. I think number 5 that you said.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. And see with that, I step back and I look at that. I'm like, okay, I get that you want to go play other sports, but is it really important that you're out, or you're just playing intramural sports? But it's really important that you're out there shooting the ball with the boys and you're Trevor Lawrence. I mean, is it really that important? I mean, because there's some things in life that you have to learn how to weigh the responsibility of what you're doing, your activities. There's just certain things that I know that, for instance, I'm not going to stay up all night for multiple nights and try to go in and drive a crane. I mean, we could go down this hole for a very, very long time.
I know. I understand. You don't want your star linebacker going on a ski trip during the season and breaking his leg type thing.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, that restricts the freedom of the player, which I can kind of understand that. Mm-hmm. Because they're not employees. They should be able to do what they want. But where do you draw the line? What's the stipulation? Can you go skydiving? Maybe you can. I don't know. If they do something like skiing or skydiving and get hurt, seriously injured, are you allowed to pull their scholarship because they violated the deal? Right? I mean, and it looks like T. Davis, he says he's worked in higher education for a long time. So this is near and dear to his heart, this conversation we're having. T. Davis, I'll tell you one thing. You're welcome to call into my show either tomorrow night at 10 p.m. or Friday night at 10 p.m. and tell me your thoughts on this, because obviously you have better information on this than somebody like me or Bobby does. And let me know if you're available.
I would like to hear that too. I'll try to listen to it, because here's one thing that I'll start to close down, at least on my side here. T. Davis, you said something here that they need some help. They need some guidance on how to write this these requests, demands.
Well, I can tell you one
you
thing.
Put it.
I can promise you one thing, Bobby. What you're reading was written by a lawyer.
But
and the reason 100% chance.
Yeah.
It was written by a lawyer.
Yeah. But to me, when I start taking people seriously, when I take people seriously, is when they lay out a mature plan in front of me, mature request, stuff that looks like a person who's really thought out the long term, has put some thought into this. They've reached out to people who has now some lawyers. Now there's some great lawyers. There's great lawyers. So this is not anti-lawyer, guys. Please understand this. I have one of my really close family members is a lawyer. So this is nothing against lawyers.
Yeah.
There are some great lawyers out there. There are some lawyers who is sitting there just twiddling their fingers going, I want to take advantage of this situation. I could take advantage of this situation.
No, a lawyer would never do that.
Yeah. This is one of the ones I feel like would probably do that. But helping low income players, absolutely. Helping players get some of these dumb restrictions off of them, talking about the overreach of the NCAA, like I was referencing just a second ago, absolutely. Some of the other stuff that they're requesting, some of the dumbest piss I've heard in quite a while. I will take you seriously when you come to the table and it looks like a mature adult wrote it out and not a child, with some good demands mixed into it, but some really dumb demands thrown in there.
We'll have to leave it at that. We could talk about this for hours, probably.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I know I could.
I could.
But I'm restricted by time on these Tuesday shows. So anyway, it's been a great show. I'm sure we'll get plenty of comments in the comment section regarding this. Some agreeing with us, some are disagreeing with us. But I think we all can all come to one conclusion here. I think we all want the college football season to be played out in however this looks, in its entirety. And that, of course, the most important thing is that nobody becomes seriously ill or dies as a result of this. We can all agree on that, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. Thanks to everybody who stopped in. Thank you for all the people that donated. T Davis, BGO Football Funk, and Talk to the Paw, and Slim Shady Canes. You guys are all amazing and fantastic. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Hey, do you want to plug anything? I'll be on tomorrow night at 10 p.m. for my Wednesday night call-in show. What do you got going on, Bobby?
Bobby Durkins has been on a small hiatus.
A hiatus. Did you just learn that word?
But I just looked up. No, but hopefully we will be doing some more Bobby Durkin stuff. And I'm reading through these comments. Great comments, guys. Great that y'all are talking about it. Great that you're being civil about it. And Pete, I love doing this show with you, my friend. I love it. It's so much fun.
I do too. And I love you too, sir. Hey, let me ask you a question. Because people, do you take compliments well? And do you tell your friends you love them? Male friends even?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Because I do know people that don't tell their friends they love them. I don't care if you're a male, female, hermaphrodite, or whatever the hell they're called, transgender person. If you're a good friend of mine, if you're a good friend of mine, I tell my friends I love them all the time. And sometimes people look at you and they're like, "Well, you just told that guy you loved him." I'm like, "Yeah, I do love him. It's my friend." You know what I mean? So do you guys in the comment section, do you guys tell your friends you love them? I do all the time. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I do.
So anyway,
I do. And by the way, if you just told me if you just told me that you love me, the show has been now it's starting to break up. So just in case you did, I love you too.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that's usually how it works for me. Most of the time, I tell my friends I love them, but they don't tell me they love me back, which is fine. But seriously, I tell my friends I love them all the time. Like, hey man, I love you. You know, I'm secure in that way. You know. you know, and I'm telling the truth too. If I love you, I love you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anyway, we got off the rails there a little bit. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for checking in. Love all of you too.
Yeah.